Boom. Chakalaka.
I'm the Chief Raka.
I forgot that first part.
Yep.
Oh, well, here we are again.
One more day in the books.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our 10th episode. This is our 10th episode.
We got a lovely coffee. We got a beautiful day outside. We got a couple topics. And it is the big number 10.
Zero of everything and
nothing.
Nothing. Everything and nothing. So glad to be here. I think we missed a couple weeks, or we missed our last
happens.
one.
Yeah, we've had a couple
I'm exhausted this
life
morning.
Spells.
Yeah, I don't know about all of you out there, but June has felt very eventful. So much going on. And so today I'm kind of dragging
Your purdel.
My purdel, which is Czech for butt.
Yep.
Purdel. You learned a new word today. As a kid, of course, we learned all the really important Czech words.
We got Czech blood, Czech heritage. Mm-hmm. So my grandparents, great-grandparents, all the profanities, you learn those.
Yeah, learn the profanities and the cool things like derny hubičku, which is give me a kiss, and, prdel, which is butt, and, how kids are.
Presa, which is pig, but this is not a linguistics podcast.
Yeah,
so.
I know. And why was that important? I don't know.
Is it just a way for somebody to be like, damn, shit, God. Because your mom couldn't say the D word or the G word or the J word.
No, she's very religious. There was no swearing.
Just finding little loopholes in the law.
But we made up for what my mom couldn't do.
And I continued the legacy.
Oh my gosh.
Well, hopefully y'all are comfortable. Got something to sip on like us.
Yes, we're so happy to be here.
Yeah. Bringing an open mind, hopefully, and just
having a conversation. Let's see what's going to come up today.
Speaking of, I think you got the honors. Are you up first? Oh my gosh,
am I first today?
Yeah.
Dang it. Prezka. Okay, I'm not going to say that word. Okay, anyway, it's been an interesting, I feel like we talk about this a lot, but Dana and I are both I consider myself a eternal seeker. I'm always about how to heal something deeper in myself. Like, what's my next step? And it's not even so much like I'm consciously going I've got to go out and do something to move myself forward as a human being. It's not conscious like that. It's like breathing. It's like a mindless, involuntary action that is just in the fabric of who I am.
Can I just real quick, just the way you framed that's very interesting. Being a seeker, I totally get. Trying to improve myself, I totally get. But the way you framed that is that you're trying to heal wounding. So you're not approaching it from a point of view of improving yourself necessarily, but you're approaching it from a point of view that you're innately wounded and damaged, and you're trying to fix yourself.
I think that has been how I have felt most of my life.
I just find that kind of
interesting.
Very much so. Yeah. Because it's just a different way of looking at it.
Well, and that's a really illuminating point, because, if you, I've spent a lot of time looking backwards, and I'm now really practicing on trying to look forward. But even as I'm looking forward, there is that innate ability that continues to bring me to what's not working. It's not like I walk around and go oh wow, this is really working for me, I'm going to focus on that. Usually it's for me it's oh my God, what is that? Oh, where did that come from? Why is that hurting? And then it'd be and then you start looking around at it and you're oh shit, I know where that came from and what that is. And it's okay, this is holding me back. I gotta give it some love. I gotta do something to shift this perspective or be curious about, whatever that is. So it is, and, I'm not gonna get into my past, but, my childhood was hard. It was really hard. It's not been an easy life. It has not been an easy life. And I don't regret it. I don't want to change it. But I can acknowledge that. And I think that's why I have always innately felt something's wrong, because I didn't really come into the world being celebrated. I wasn't oh wow, look at this amazing child and this human being and how precious you are, and what do you feel and what do you want to be and who are you going to be? give me a effing break. No. It was like, okay, we got work for you to do on the farm. It's like, step it up. Like, it's like.
It was a different world.
It was a different world.
Yeah, really.
And it's shocking sometimes, and I'm off topic here a little bit. I haven't even given you my topic, but, it's as I, am with my grandchildren, and even the way I was with you and Athena, is when I started to recognize, wow, there's like a different way that a child could be raised and seen and heard and celebrated and nurtured. And, and I'm not saying that there wasn't any of that. And I love my parents, and I've healed so much with them, and they did the best they could. And the truth of the matter is, I come from that place, but I am trying to work on it. And so the word I'm going to bring today was disappointment. So disappointed. No, because I had an experience recently that really like sucker punched me, and I want to get into that. But I first want to kind of talk about, what is disappointment? Like why, what is disappointment? Because I think we all like, oh, disappointment is, like I can give the, the definition from the dictionary, but I wanted to play it out.
Yeah, my feelings on it is it's just like a divergence from expectation. You have hopes, you have aspirations, you have something that you're expecting to occur, usually associated in a positive light, and something happens and you cannot achieve that. That's
it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
and that's exactly right. That's exactly what the definition is like. Sadness or displeasure. From a non-fulfillment, of a dream or an expectation or a hope, right?
Yeah.
And so, so then the other questions, I was thinking around this, like, well, how can it be a creative tool, right? Because isn't everything really here to help us? That's kind of something that I've been really sitting with, is rather than feeling like all these things are happening to me, I believe things are happening for me. They're happening for my growth. And what was the other thing? Like, and what is disappointment really telling us? Like, how can that be a creative tool?
Well, it's a sign. It's a feeling that we have, and feelings are needle points on the compass pointing us towards something. So it's worth paying attention to. Deception. Really, I think it kind of just an indicator that we are carrying too much attachments to our own kind of power trip on how we think that our power should influence the world, maybe.
That's an interesting take.
That's my first, it's just off the tip top here,
Yeah.
Because coming into this, I don't know her topic really. She doesn't know mine, so I'm having a spitball on the fly over here.
And I do too.
Yep. Disappointment. Like, the question is, what does it teach us, and why should we not be disappointed by it, but why should we embrace it as some sort of a teacher?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's all kinds of disappointments, right? There's little disappointments, there's big disappointments, relationships ending, like maybe you're hoping to get a job, or you get disappointed by something that somebody says to you, or a parent. I felt disappointed a lot by my mom and dad, hoping that I would have a different relationship with them than
of course
what it was.
Yeah. Wasn't one of the main Buddhist philosophies, did it come and go? But basically,
like desire is the root of all suffering, like that one, or
pretty much. I think they basically, like, disappointment was the root of all suffering, but they worded it a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And so by being able to identify your disappointments, and by identifying your attachments, maybe you can alleviate suffering.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell the story. So the reason why this came up is because I really, I had a very big disappointment came, and I have been wanting to move out of Portland, Oregon. I've lived here, pretty much, big portion of my life in this particular house, but I have been wanting to get back out to more of a rural area, back out into nature. And I've been trying for probably about 20 years to move. But something always came up, like wanted to wait till the kids were finished with school. And then it wasn't enough money because we were paying for college. And then I got cancer. And, it just seemed like every time we were kind of like ready, something happened. So now, we're kind of in a place where maybe we can do this. And so recently a house came. We're not actively looking, but a house came, and it's in Cascade Locks where my daughter lives, which we kind of want to move out in the gorge. And it was just like one of those serendipitous things where somebody like, oh, go check this out. And we went, and it seemed affordable. And for me, it was like the first time that I'd seen a house that felt like it ticked, like it marked a lot of boxes and we could afford it. And it was a major fixer upper, I will say. It wasn't like turnkey, but I was like, yeah, I think we could do this, and I felt really excited. And being a feng shui, practitioner, and I'm very sensitive to energy, that's a big part of it, because when I go in, I want to make sure that the feng shui is good, and it was. And it's like, for as old as this house was, it's like I didn't feel any old creepy stuff or what, it just felt great. And I was just so excited, and I could tell that Jim wasn't, he's like, ooh, like this is going to be a lot of work. And, like we were just not on the same page. And I've manifested a lot of miracle kinds of things in my life. So we went back and forth for a couple of days. And then at the end of the day, our realtor was like, well, if you're going to do this, you need to step on it. Because I had a beautiful view of the river. And so we sat down, and he was like, basically, and Jim right now is like, we kind of fell into traditional roles. So I do work, but I'm more of supplementary income, and he's more the breadwinner. And he was just like, absolutely not. And he found all these reasons why. And the way he stated it was like, I need a sanctuary, and there's just too much stress in my life. And it really felt like this is going to harm my health, and it's not going to be good for me. And normally I'll fight, I don't mean fight, but I'll like step up and rebuttal or whatever. And for whatever reason this time, I just didn't. I was just like, I just deflated and gave up. And I just was so disappointed, and I was so heartbroken, and I couldn't even talk to him. I couldn't even look at him. And it was like, and it wasn't because he's like, oh, you're mad at me. And I wasn't mad at him, because he's my best friend. And what's more important, his life, for sure. And I love that he stands up for himself and says, I don't think I can do this. Like, I love that. And I wasn't mad at him, but I was really disappointed. And so it really brought this whole concept up to me about how do I, because before I would have been mad at him and being like, well, why not? Blah, 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 But this time I tried to really stay present with it and be like, okay, what's going on, and why am I having such a hard time? What is it in me that's like, I was really trying to use it as a creative tool, like to not go into old stories like it's never going to happen and I never get what I want and I'm such a failure. Like I didn't go into those. I just tried to stay really present and let myself be sad, because it's sadness. And there can sometimes be that sense of failure. But I didn't go there. And if it did come up, I was like, you know what? That's not true. And moved through it, and then allowed Jim and myself to have conversations about it. And, and so that's example. So that's why the disappointment thing really came up. And how to use it as a creative tool to change our life, instead of getting stuck in like, fuck this, it's never going to happen, and I never get anything, and I'm just a big fat loser, and what I'm saying, which is, I think, what most of us do sometimes when we get disappointed, or we attack the other person.
Yeah, that could be.
I mean, have you ever had an experience like that?
Never.
Liar.
I mean, yeah, of course. I think it's a natural part of the human evolution. The one story I was thinking that really resonated with what you were saying there was probably the biggest disappointment I've had in myself on kind of a longer scale. Probably happened after I tried to do a world or global walkabout. Mm-hmm. I set a mission for myself. I was trying to get out and explore the world, see the world in a very non-materialistic, minimalistic kind of way. And so I basically gave up everything that I owned, and I don't remember, I had like almost zero money, or I decided not to use any money on this, and decided to try to walk to India, of all places, which, lo and behold, there's an ocean between us and India, first of all. But there's also a lot of miles.
There is.
And so the plan was, I'd already done a large cross-country trip on bicycle. So I was like, this is doable. You start to go, you start to meet people, doors start to open, avenues start to appear, and things just start to click. And on this occasion, nothing clicked, and everything was hard mode. All the lights were red. The gorge I was going to walk out caught on fire, and everything burned down. It was like a record hot summer. Everything was scorching hot.
The highways were closed.
Yeah, all the trails that I was planning on walking to begin with were closed, so I had to stick to walking on interstates, which was miserable.
Ugh,
and then, you're carrying like 60 pounds on your back, just walking 20 miles a day, with a girlfriend at the time who was even more miserable than I was and let me know about it. And it just wasn't working. And we got to, a place and made like a little camp up in the hills and kind of hung out for a while and regrouped and thought about it and eventually just threw in the towel. And I knew at the time that if I had been a little stronger or done things a little differently, I could have kept going, and I could have manifested that, but I didn't. And so I kind of lost, I was disappointed mostly in myself. And what I really feel like I lost was a ability to trust in my inner conviction to something. I lost my ability to listen to my guides and achieve what it was that I'd set my mind to.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's painful.
It's very painful.
To lose trust in yourself, because the next day you have to get up and put your trust in yourself again that you're going to accomplish something else. And when you're rattled, it's a hard thing to do. And you kind of want to just abandon any semblance of progress or ambition, because what's the purpose? I was already disappointed before.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've recovered from that disappointment? Do you feel like
I'm still healing that wounding.
It's still relevant?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure to some extent it's there.
Yeah.
I don't dwell on it. I rarely bring it up. I mean, this is the first time I've probably even thought about it in a couple of years, just because your story resonated with it.
Yeah. And I remember that, and you really struggled with that. You felt very... And again, another word that, like that failure word goes with disappointment.
I felt betrayed by myself.
Yes, and I have felt that. And it's interesting because going through this house project, I also felt like that. Like I felt like I was getting symbols and signs that this was meant to be.
Yep.
And so I went through some of that too. Is like I kept going, like Jim, I kept saying like I feel really confused right now, Jim. Because I feel like I'm getting all these messages that this could be something like that's right.
Yeah.
And yet there is such a big no, because, you're my partner and I have to listen to,
See, and that's tough because we have these inner guides, these inner voices.
Yeah.
And these signs. And when you do follow them, miracles can happen.
Absolutely.
But, when is it like, I don't know. Sometimes, like, do we have to not listen? There was that book, The Alchemist, also, which made a poignant piece, which was, if you practice not listening to them, eventually they'll be quiet.
Right.
So,
well, I think that, like my takeaway so far, and I think this is going to continue to unwind, but the first thing that came up as I found, like, again, you've heard me talk about this a lot, but I think the first thing is to not go into the blaming mode, blaming Jim or blaming, whatever, like some outside force of why this can't happen. I kind of like take that personal responsibility and really try to look at like, okay, what's really going on here? And to keep communicating, so I kept initiating conversations with Jim, like, like I feel really, confused, like I don't understand because I'm getting these messages and yet you say this and so out of that, it's like, I feel like, where disappointment can turn into resentment and be a detriment to us is when you don't take that time to maybe unpack it and understand and look at it and make peace with it,
Well, then in your position, in mine, I felt like I betrayed my own voices. But
Yeah.
I mean, you do have this external force with you.
Yes.
And you know, you can say like, you know, I had to abandon my inspiration because of
Right.
XYZ. And to some extent, you know, I put some of that on the shoulders of Mariana, who was
Right.
my girlfriend at the time. I told multiple people, I was like, yeah, you know, I just didn't want to see her suffer anymore.
Right.
And that was definitely part of it.
Right.
But ultimately, the buck stopped with me.
Right. And I don't think that means the messages are going to stop. What I was going to say is I think that's maturity. I think that's being mature, is being able to sometimes let go of something that maybe you think, you know, you want so badly, and maybe it feels right. Because like I said to many people, when I said this to Jim, is like, if you were in my life, I would go for it. I would have found a way. I would probably have gone for it. You know, with that said, you know, I think that it's mature to sometimes, you know, because my greater commitment is to my partner. That's my greater commitment.
What you're really trying to manifest.
Right. My greater commitment is like, yes, moving is something that I really want to do, but having a mate that's alive, having a mate that we can maybe grow through whatever this obstacle is, because I think it's something that's been in our relationship for a long time, that we manifest things differently. I'm more of a risk taker and a big picture person, and I'm like, when I get a yes, I'm like, go. And he's more like, let's get our ducks in a row, let me make sure everything's, you know, organized and the funding's there, and that, you know. And our whole life we've been resisting. When we try to manifest something, it repels. But now I feel like I really want to unpack this and keep having this conversation with him, because how can we bring these superpowers that we have together so that we can manifest something that will fit right for both of us? And because we've had those conversations, what we've decided is that we're making our house list of what we want to prepare, you know, and Jim's been doing it. He's been starting to clean things out.
Getting the ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that's where disappointment can be, you know, a superpower. And again, like we talked about so many times with all of our topics.
I'm disappointment man.
But you know what I'm saying? Like we've talked about this so many times. Is like, isn't everything trying to help us and teach us? I mean, I think
as
so.
As much as I'd like to like castigate evil and cast it into the hellfires
like,
from whence it came, it's like, you know, evil and darkness is here to contrast against, to know what good is, to know how to be a hero. And
I mean, and I've stretched a lot, and it's like I said, it was like I was so devastated, and that in and of itself, to just sit with myself in the disappointment and not drink it away or numb it out with TV or eat it away with sugar and treats, you know, like I really just kind of let myself be in that, and it was super uncomfortable. But I feel like by going through that process, I'm already like having a better understanding of who I am and what I want. And I think part of that I uncovered also, and this might be a little off topic, but I'm going to bring it up because it feels very relevant to what I went through, is I also recognized that as a female, I chose to go into a partnership with my husband where we were going to do the traditional roles. He was going to be the breadwinner, and I was going to be more the homemaker. And I do still work, but mine's more of a supplementary income, and his is more, you know, the regular
career.
Yeah. But throughout my life, and Jim will even admit this, like I continually have done energy work around clearing blocks for his career, and, you know, and have really helped support him, that has helped him really rise to where he has a very successful career and keeping the home and everything. However, when you look at paper, it's like what I have done is not valuable. What Jim has done is very valuable. And why I'm bringing this up is because if I wanted to just go get a loan and do it all myself, I can't. Because we put all those eggs in Jim's basket. He's the one that has the career record. He's the one that has the big numbers behind his name. And there was some sadness around that too. You know, like recognizing like I don't have that same, I'm not recognized as valuable, that I couldn't go out and make some financial things happen for me. And I don't regret my choice, but it's like I'm very dependent on his financial history.
Well, if it's any consolation, the numbers behind me are very small also.
Well, I think you're working on that, though, right?
I am working on that.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just another facet of this disappointment, like feeling disappointed because I can't, at least not yet, you know,
Weren't you in a similar position where you had nothing behind your name and then you were able to buy a house miraculously anyways that you couldn't afford?
Yep.
So, I mean, if you have and
Yep.
you can do it.
Yep. I did do that when I was single.
The papers be damned. I don't believe in papers anyways. It's like I have a degree, but I think having a piece of paper that says I'm smart is stupid.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying, but it was just another level of uncovering. I guess I'm bringing that up not to really talk about more than anything. I'm just showing that there's multifaceted gifts, I think, attached to disappointment. And as the onion has been peeled around this one particular instance, I keep finding these other under areas that are wanting to maybe have a little light. And like maybe you want to make a different choice. You know, like you can go out and make bigger money. Do you want to do that? You don't have to, but you can't, you know. So it's just brought some things to my consciousness that I just kind of like look at. And this is where I feel like I'm kind of like the scientist, you know. I'll look at things and move it around and, well, what about that? And what if I did this? And how does that connect over here? And, you know, and so again, it's like I've just been really like, you know, thinking about disappointment and how it can really improve my life, you know, like, and also, like you said, it's attachments. Like, where do I just need to let go of a lot more stuff that maybe isn't really realistic?
Yeah.
And maybe it isn't what I really want, you know, because they're expectations and hopes, right?
I like that.
That are unfulfilled.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Once.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of them in every moment. I want a cup of coffee.
And if you don't get it, sometimes it's disappointing.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, I want to drive this road and not have any, you know, people you know, like pull in front of me and do, you know, dick moves. But they do. And I get disappointed, you know, but it's but where can I'm like, you know, anyway. I think that's it. Can you bring anything else up for you?
Not really, no.
Let me see if there's
like a pretty good spot.
Else. Yeah. 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 I think that's...
Yeah, I think if we stop looking at the world in terms of something that we want or don't want, maybe we find a little bit more peace in that.
Yeah.
And bypass this disappointment.
Yeah.
Just see it for the true nature of what it is.
Yeah. I'm going to continue to think about this, you know.
I bet.
I'm going to continue to think about this.
I'm going to continue to be disappointed.
And I probably will too.
Well, a little intermission.
Yeah, let's take a little intermission. All right, guys.
Back.
We'll be back in just a second. Okay. It's a beautiful day here in Portland. It's going to be gorgeous. So I'm having iced coffee today, which is delicious. Oh, I always like going second better. Do you like going second better?
Not today. I don't know. I don't know why you would. Yeah, I was going to go with the topic of division. But I think I have to call a last minute audible.
What?
And we're going to go with deception.
Whoa, geez. The D's. Yeah. We're bringing in all the D's.
A lot of alliteration
today.
From your man Dane. And the Dragel clan.
Dragel clan. And the disappointment. And the, what was the word?
Deception.
Deception. Wow.
We've talked about truth a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, how it's kind of like, you know, what is self-evident, provable all around us all the time.
Yeah.
But deception's a very big part of our reality. And I would argue that it might even be, well, it's definitely not bigger than the truth, but It is definitely all enveloping and all
The
around us.
Yeah, maybe it's the equal opposite.
We have self-deceptions, we have self-illusions, we have power complexes built upon media hierarchies that are built online to us to create, certain outcomes. It really is all around us. I've practiced lying, at certain times of my life. I consider myself a very honest person in the scheme of things, but I have told a fib here or there.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've found from a personal experience is that lying it's unreasonably hard. It's not worth it. Lying basically means I have to fabricate a whole new version of reality and remember that, put it over here in a storage space so I can bring it back and keep the lie built and upheld to whatever ends.
Yeah.
The ends of a lie is what? A manipulation of sorts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm going to lie to you, it's because I want you to divorce from reality enough that I can coerce you into doing or not seeing or behaving in a certain way.
To get something that you want.
Yeah.
It's all based on the premise of you're wanting something. And the lie is born from that thinking that that's the only way maybe you can get that.
I think usually deception occurs as a way to, the manipulation is to not be uncovered, is to stay hidden. You create deception around yourself to get away with stealing the cookie from the cookie jar or covering up the homicide, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's funny because, and the reason why I said get what you want is because the first thing that came up for me, the deception, is that I've been through so much chemo and radiation. It's like, I do not want to be x-rayed at the airport. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And so
the body scanners.
The body scanners, yeah. So I'm constantly opting out, and it's just like torture because they always have so much attitude majority of the time, and it's like they make you wait, and some people are cool, but majority of the time they're not very helpful. They don't want you to opt out.
No, they don't.
So my deception is that I started wearing I did break my arm, but it was like 6-7 years ago. And so my deception is I started wearing my arm brace and just wear it through
to go through TSA. Yeah.
Just so I don't have to deal with all that bullshit, because they're so nice to me when they think I hurt my arm, like, oh yeah, no problem. And but now they have the new machines where you only have to raise your arms up, so they're still like, can't you just kind of hold your hand, and I'm like, no, I can't. And so now they're still mean, they're mad because they just don't want to do it. But anyway, that's one of the deceptions, and the whole reason I'm doing it is because I don't want to feel the discomfort of my choice, which is like, it's my body and I don't want to go through that machine, and it's not good for me. My doctor told me. And so rather than deal with that discomfort over and over, and people are like, just do the TSA thing. And it's like, but I don't want to. I just want to, anyway. So I'm deceived.
Your deception was to manipulate them into letting you get around the
exactly.
Scanner. Yeah.
So that they're nice to me.
Yeah.
And I get to go through.
It's interesting because there's this, the whole old idea of like, witches and warlocks and wizards or whatever, like casting spells.
Yeah.
Is, I think, very much a truism.
Yeah.
I think that we all have spells cast on us daily via deception. If you take the most righteous person and you tell them the correct deceptive message, you can make them do the most heinous act. Yeah. You can convince them to take a life.
Isn't that scary?
It really is.
Just like, what?
If you just know what buttons to push and what parts, what important pieces a person holds, you can do a lot of damage.
And you can find evidence of that everywhere. You can find it in cults. You can find it in religions. I mean, it doesn't even have to be some heinous act. It could even be just like manipulating, groups of people
to take money a lot of times,
or to do something, that. Well, and I want to go back to the deception thing for me because I want to complete that thought because
go.
I just made the decision recently that I'm not going to be faking my arm hurt anymore because It takes too much energy to hold that deception. For as much as the benefit of me, like, not having to have the grief and them just coming down on me, there's something that feels out of alignment with who I am of doing that, and it creates this energy around myself that feels hard to maintain. It almost is like, so I just recently made that decision, like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just gonna go deal with the consequences.
Just tell them the truth.
And I'm just gonna tell them the truth, and I'm gonna speak into whatever's happening. Like if they're being, like having an attitude, I'm like, I don't understand, you seem like you're mad. Are you mad at me for being and just start
talking
into it.
Tell them to take that machine and shove it up their purdel.
No, I'm not going to do that. But I am going to break whatever that dynamic is. And instead of being like, oh my God, they're being mean, I'm just going to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, are you mad at me because I'm being patted down because you seem like it? Just ask them. It's like, there's a reason I'm doing this. And here's
that'll catch
what.
them off guard.
Yeah, and they'll be like, oh, no. I'm like, because it's just, I don't want to do it. And I'm sorry if this is inconvenient for you, and just start speaking into it, dealing with that conflict rather than being deceptive and kind of hurting myself through the deception. Even though I'm getting what I want, it doesn't feel good.
I've always declined the scanning machines also.
Yeah.
And I've never done it in a deceptive way. I always just say, hey, I don't want to go through there, And then they always pat my balls down and take 20 minutes.
They do.
It's very passive
I've
aggressive.
Seen you.
It's
weird.
It's not a fun experience.
No, it's not.
But
and that feels deceptive. Like I mean,
all of that was implemented via deception. These the underwear bomber and the shoe bomber, which were both, not to get into the weeds too much, but were both very much orchestrated just to roll out the TSA agency. It was created on deception, just as a way to coerce people to go through these extra steps of control. And
history shows us that, with the government, how there has been a lot of things implemented through deception.
There have. That's where the term false flags comes from.
Yeah. So deception's a real thing.
It's a real thing, and it kind of is the matrix that we're all trapped in.
Yeah.
To break out of these webs of deception, to break out of that and to come face to face with absolute truth would make you aware of what's actually important. It's not making money, It's not being afraid of another country. It's not, getting rid of anybody that doesn't speak your language.
Right.
It's much more profound and much more peaceful and much more harmonious in that. I don't know what it is. I wish I did. I'm still looking for it.
Yeah.
But I've caught brief glimpses of it, and I think we all should aim to break out of the deceptive webs a little bit, because we're running in circles doing things that don't benefit ourselves or each other. For insane reasons.
Yes. And I think that also makes me think of, the deception in the family unit.
Yeah.
Like what stories have been passed down? What secrets do people keep in the family? What deceptions?
Yeah.
Like I know in our family for a while, I was like, don't tell somebody something. Like so
super
afraid,
weird.
So what are those deceptions? And then the deception to the self also, because I think about that too, in the ways I deceive myself and tell myself lies about like, oh, this isn't going to really hurt anybody, or I kind of manipulate my own psyche sometimes to maybe do something that I know isn't 100% clean. And the TSA is one small example of that, but I'm constantly like having to be aware and hold myself as like, no, that does, like, let's get clear about this. And I think in our family, with just the Dragil unit, we've been really consciously working on breaking some of those deceptions, the deceptions that, like we're not good enough, or that we're not relevant, or, like whatever. I feel like we've been really, so it's weird. It's very multifaceted again. It could really break this down.
It really is. And I think this also ties a little bit into the first word I was going to go with, the whole idea of division. I think one of the most powerful ways that deception is used is to achieve one of the oldest maxims of all time: divide and conquer.
Yes.
The deception that, woman is different than male to a degree that we have to fight, or that black is different than white to a point that there has to be like a race riot, or Catholic is different from Muslim to the point that we have to go, have the Crusades. Those are very powerful and self-evident, destructive ways that deception has been used. Also, leadership's important.
Yeah.
We need more good leaders. We need
Yeah.
more people that are speaking truth. We need
Yeah.
people like you to step
Yeah.
up and be good leaders.
Yeah.
And the only real way to lead is to lead from truth.
Yeah.
I would argue that you have to lead by example. You have to be
Yes.
the example of what the good model is, and then true people will truly follow you. If you don't lead from truth, if you lead from deception, you're not leading. You're in the shadows, telling them to go that way off the cliff, or to whatever ends you're scheming over there. If you're not doing what it is that you're preaching, you are part of the deception.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that also kind of highlights for me is like, I think being great leaders starts in the small, the micro, the family unit.
Exactly.
So maybe you're not going to go out and be a leader like in your town hall or in city government, but you can be a leader within your family nucleus by walking in truth. And I always think that comes back to like laying down some of these things that make deception more alive, which is like judgment. Like you could lead your family by busting the deception of judgment, like that's a healthy, good thing to do. No, it's not. It's not good to judge yourself. It's not good, how can you be a good leader within your own self? Like how can you be an example, and break those, because then that ripples out.
We all affect, we all ripple through our community. But by, finding your own truth, by finding your own inner direction, your own moral compass, and by being like a truly conscious, present person who's trying to make a positive difference and be there for people in their community.
Yeah.
People are going to follow you. People are going to want to follow you. And you're going to be, by de facto, you're going to be a leader just because people want to be with you.
Yeah. How can you, because what's the opposite of deception, right? Truth, right?
Truth. Yeah.
Right.
Truth.
So maybe it's like, where can you tell the truth to yourself about yourself and what you're feeling and thinking and what's happening, and where can you like tell the truth and, all these, like, where you feel like you're deceiving.
Let's take a look at it. Yeah. Let's look at ourselves and ask that question.
Because I think that's, it's funny because as we've been doing this now, it's our 10th episode, I feel like that's the common thread that we keep coming back, and I think it's the future, and I think it is that everybody has to start doing their own inventory,
unentanglement.
You have to start figuring out who you are and figuring out how to give that to yourself instead of like going out and I don't even know what I was going to say.
We're working on it. I know I'm working on it. You're working on it.
Yeah.
You're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the whole deception, like I know this is big and we're not going to go in the weeds, but there's a lot of, I feel like since COVID and with all the different forms of media, like I know for me, and we've talked about this, there is, I don't really believe there's a lot of truth. You have to really discern and pull and sift, because I feel like something has just been unleashed, that there's so much deception out there, and even what you see on Facebook or what, it's just,
it's getting ratcheted up more and more, divorced from reality.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're getting an influx where like tons of 100% fake news stories are being published by fake AI programs that don't even have an idea of what truth is to begin with. We're moving into more and more insane realms.
Yes.
And it's a trip to watch.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to be careful to not fall into these webs.
And that's where I feel like it's like, just for us, it's like we don't just take anything on face value anymore. But this is where I think connection and communication with real people and real groups is important.
Yes.
Because it's through this, and then also with the self. So kind of like the other piece of being disappointed or whatever, like learning how to really like figure out like who I am and what I'm feeling and why do I feel this way and what's important, and, to keep busting the attachments and to keep busting through the deceptiveness and coming back to because I think it's teaching us to be sovereign within ourselves.
Independent, strong.
Independent. Yeah. Anyway.
I guess so. Yeah. I could say some more on this, but
that's a lot.
Yeah, really, it hit me out of left field. Deception came at me from somewhere, and I was like, let's run with that for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know about you guys, but when you're listening to this, but when we're in it and talking and all this information's coming in, I don't know about you, Dane, but I feel like when we end this, there feels like there's a soup swirling around me. Like I feel like we just stirred the pot of Anezka and my world and my thoughts and my brain, and it just feels like it's all like whoosh, it makes it really alive,
Yeah, stir that idea soup.
Yeah, and then I walk away and then I think about it for 2 weeks until we come back, and it'll like show up in my world, in different ways. I'm like, oh, interesting. Here's a disappointment I'm having. What's going on?
We have to keep mixing the pot. We have to keep things moving. If things become stagnant and static, nothing can progress. Nothing is changing. So we have to continue to break down who we are, constrict a bit so we can re-expand and get a broader perspective.
Yeah, and I don't know. Do you think we have time to share like a little feng shui body exercise?
Oh my, yes.
I'm feeling inspired.
Hey, run with it.
Okay, you don't have to do it, but I just wanted to give a little exercise because, when I work with clients, we're constantly like, how do you get in touch with yourself? Like, how do you know what's going on? Like, if you are feeling disappointment, how do you move through that? Or you're feeling deceived.
Skill to have. It's a good skill
how
to
can
think
you
about.
because we keep saying like, know who you are, but sometimes it's like, well, how do I figure out who I am? Like some people don't know,
That's true.
So this is just a little exercise. If you want to join us, you can. I'm just going to guide you through really quickly, and this is something that you can do on a regular basis. So
I'll join you.
Sit comfortably. Put your hands in your lap. We're just going to take a big breath in. Close your eyes. And out. And just kind of like feel yourself getting present. And I always do that by listening to the sounds in the room. Kind of brings me like right here, right now. Yeah. There we go. Just let yourself relax. And then we're just going to kind of do a little body scan. So you're going to start at the top of your head. And if you're not a good imaginator, just go with it. You can't do it right or wrong. But you're just bringing that awareness to your body. And as you're going through your body, just notice how it feels. Like if you're working on a disappointment or if you felt deceived by something, you can think about something specifically. And as you scan from your head, just see like, where does it feel heavy? And where does it feel light or warm? Or how does it feel? Just how do you feel in your body right now? Just take it all the way down through your gut. And then scan through your legs. Scan all the way through your calves, down to your feet. And just notice if there's any points of stuckness. And then we're going to bring the scan and then just noticing wherever that spot is, like just pick a place in your body where you feel a little like, that's something. Maybe it's your heart. And just put, like if you could just imagine like a little bit of light right there. What am I feeling there? Just see if you hear a word or you see a picture. And if you hear nothing or see nothing, just hold light in your body and just kind of see it unraveling, whatever that word is. Just kind of put some white light there. Take a breath. Exhale it out. Just bring more awareness. And then just know that all is well. and that life is unfolding for you, and that whatever you're sensing or feeling, whether it's more on the positive spectrum, like joy or lightness, or whether it's heaviness, just knowing that all is well. And you're just going to let that as the day goes on, just to continue to unwind and lighten and release. Just going to open that up. And it doesn't matter. Yeah. Good. And then when you're ready, just kind of open your eyes. Come present into your heart. Look around the room. And that's just kind of like a really tiny thing that you can do this anytime, you know. Anytime something comes up that feels upsetting, you can just kind of like drop into that, scan the body, how you feel, bring in a little light, just bring in that lightness and awareness, and then just trust that everything is opening and unfolding for you. And you can also use that exercise to just ask more questions like, who am I? What's important to me? What would nourish me today?
Ask those questions and see what answers you might find.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then maybe write them down, like it's all about self-discovery. So anyway, thanks, Dane.
You do feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
Be honest about it.
Because I use that a lot when I have serious disappointment. I'll just go in and I'm like, okay, where is it in my body? And ask if it has something to say. And, I go through that little exercise. So I hope that helps. Well, there we go. Dane.
There we go.
Disappointment. Deception.
Yes.
Done.
Yep.
We're done.
Done.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. And I think we're headed to the farm where I was raised for 4th of July.
Yeah.
And we're going to actually try and do a podcast with maybe some family members down there for our next episode.
Maybe have a rotating cast.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
It's going to be an experiment. If
big
it goes
experiment.
Successfully, you'll see it. And if it goes unsuccessfully, you'll probably
won't.
also see it.
I was going to say you'll hear about it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, something will happen.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
All right.
Another
Thanks.
fun one.
Another great one. Thanks, guys. Have a great day and be well.
See y'all down the road.
Blessings. Thank you.
Okay.
Yay. That's so weird how it goes so fast.